Okay guys, we're out here at Cascade Trails Mustang Sanctuary, and Cam Mackey actually let me borrow his Nikon handheld rig. So we're gonna be really looking at this Focus Pro Grip. Also on here, we are rocking the LiDAR Remus lenses. And I think this setup is something that I'm particularly interested in because while using the whole LiDAR focus on a gimbal is really cool, a lot of times you just want handheld shots. And this is what's gonna allow you to get really nice autofocus on anamorphic or really any lens, but without having to use the gimbal. So we're just gonna play around with this today and see what we can get. Okay guys, so after messing around with the Focus Pro system for a little bit today, honestly, one of the things about it that makes it particularly useful is that I just didn't have to think about it. I wasn't thinking about autofocus, I wasn't thinking about the grip, other than switching it from the flex spot to just the wide mode, depending on what I was doing. It is pretty much not in the way at all. And one thing that Cam was saying is that that's particularly useful when you're shooting stuff like this cowboy stuff. You never know what's gonna happen, you don't know what the horse is gonna do, and you wanna be able to move quickly. And if I was trying to do this while pulling focus myself, I just probably wouldn't be able to get near as much good footage as I was able to get. I don't know, I feel like this, even over just using it with the gimbal, this system is incredible.
So guys, as Connor was just saying, I've been shooting watch stuff for over a decade now, and I just try to use autofocus lenses half the time just because it's easier unless I have a full team. The crazy thing with this is when you try to do manual focus on stuff like this, everything's unpredictable. Horses have their own brains, they're doing their own thing. Cowboys are trying to keep up with everything, or cowboys tend to like just get ahead of you on everything, and we're running, trying to keep up. This just does the job. It's weird because I want to say it's really smart, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like that. And it kind of just is, it's not like predicting what's happening, it's locked on. And the instances where, you know, autofocus might jump for some reason, that's where the AMF mode comes in. That's the whole point of it. Right. To where, you know, I don't know, it's just,
and I did like what you were saying with autofocus. Like if I am focusing on something and I know for whatever reason I don't want the focus to move, and you can just place your finger over the focus wheel and it'll hold where it is, even if it tries to do something else. And then whenever you're ready for autofocus to rock again, you just let it go.
I mean, that's kind of how I just operate this. I just constantly put friction on this. So where if I feel it's about to jump, the friction is going to kind of catch it. So if it does jump a little bit, it looks more like a little float rather than a jumping in the focus. Yeah. So I just ride that AMF mode at all times. I honestly never put this in AF mode. I just keep an AMF mode at all times. This is like the perfect situation to really see why this is so useful. And all of them, like again, when we were filming, Connor's like, I'm not even paying attention to it, it's just like working.
And like Cam said, Chris was just doing stuff and I was just able to point at him and basically get whatever. Yeah. And it was not a problem. So yeah, this is the ticket. Yeah. Now Kofi was actually here as well, and he was using the same Focus Grip setup, but on a different rig. What was your process?
So like I decided that I was gonna try to put like as much as I can on the FX3. I put the Ninja 5 with the SSD drive so I could shoot ProRes RAW. And then I also set this guy up on an anamorphic lens as well because I wanted to know how well it worked in anamorphic. Right. Sometimes like with LiDAR, depending on the lens, it might change things a little bit because I've been using spherical the entire time. I haven't used anamorphic yet. But this thing held up really, really well. Now, one thing I might not use is I haven't used AMF too much, but I like kind of using the trigger at the back because it does lock in on your subject, even when you're using wide or multi-spot. Okay. So because you could change between the two modes, I was literally just kind of putting a square touching on one spot, and once I pressed the trigger, it would track onto it and kind of lock on as it was going through. Right. And it made a really easy and nice setup. And I feel like in a situation like this where everything's really well lit, it's able to tell where people are, and it can track and hold on to people pretty easily. This is usually how I build up my camera. Like I usually have it a little bit thicker so I can have all the accessories on it. So the fact that I can carry all of this stuff and not worry about a focus puller, if I want to, I can always just set up on the hand unit. I think this is a pretty versatile setup, man.
Absolutely. And guys, really the ticket with this again is we are shooting on anamorphic lenses. Like obviously we could shoot with Sony cameras with autofocus glass, but to be able to use these LiDAR Remus lenses and get that anamorphic look with the reliability of autofocus, that is what makes this special. Yeah. And another thing about DJI that's really cool about this is that they're not making it to where the old stuff doesn't work. So this is actually, Cam was telling me this is the older LiDAR system, and it still completely works with everything. And also, if you were using the RS3 Pro instead of this, that also works with all this stuff. So it's really cool that DJI is not like pricing people out of this stuff. You can get any of these accessories and it works with a lot of their stuff.
I think that's one of the big things with DJI ecosystem is that just because you buy the new thing doesn't mean you're alienated away from the old one. Sometimes when companies come out with stuff, like it only works on whatever recently came out. But with DJI stuff, like you could probably use some of the tech, like some of the stuff that's on right now in this launch, you could still use on the 1 and the 2 and the 3. And because you have the communication with like the RS system, you don't necessarily have to get a new gimbal. You just have to buy maybe a couple parts here and there, update the firmware, and it still works with some of your old stuff. So you don't necessarily, like, I felt like with the old LiDAR system, you had to buy so many things. You had to buy the transmission system, you had to buy the cable hub, you still had to have a gimbal. Where like this, it's self-contained, it's in one package. So when you want to use LiDAR and you're shooting handheld or on an easy rig, you just bring the one thing. You don't have to bring 20 different things and try to calibrate all of it in order for it to work.
Okay guys, so this was just a quick look at the Focus Grip. I think when it comes to all the things that DJI released recently, this is kind of the show stealer. I do feel like I'm gonna be asking to get one of these hopefully in the future, and I can make more content for you guys. But if you wanna see even more content, I know that Kofi and Cam have lots of content about this thing, and you guys should definitely go check it out. Anyways guys, I hope that you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy guys.